Delighted to say Jason Quigley is with us to talk to us about his win against Shane Mosley Jr. at the weekend. Jason, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, lads. How's the form?
How are you feeling physically after that?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good, to be honest. Physically, a little bit stiff and sore now. Jet lag is kicking in a bit. I'm up every morning about 4 or 5, listening to the birds singing every morning. But apart from that, everything's all good.
And whereabouts in the world are you then? If you're obviously back in this part of the world.
Yeah, I'm up in back home in Donegal, so I am. We got in on Monday morning from the States, from Vegas on Monday morning. We flew right away the Sunday morning after the fight, and got back in then to Dublin on Monday morning around 7 a.m. and I was straight up the road through the hills of Donegal.
I always find it weird when you come back from one of those trips, and I have no experience of actually, obviously, being at something like you've just done, but where you go from the skyscrapers and the heat, and all of a sudden you're a world away, and you're going, did that really happen? I can only imagine what it's like for you coming down off the high of a Titanic back and forth like that. So, what is this week like for you? What's going through your head right now?
To be honest, it was probably last night was the first night that I actually kind of got to sit down and just actually think about what happened and actually realize what happened. Everything else was just a bit like it was a blur. It was like a dream. It was like one of those times, you wake up and you're like, did that really happen or was that a dream? It was a weird kind of feeling, the first few days back because as you says, like obviously I was in Vegas there for a full week leading up to the fight, with media, workouts, press conferences, weigh-ins, everything along those lines. And yeah, it was pretty crazy then. All of a sudden, the fight happens. You won. You're on a high. You're on a buzz. You're on a plane. Next thing, you're sitting in your house in Donegal again. It's like, what just went on there? So yeah, there's definitely a sense of probably confusion and what day and what time, and that's just the jet lag. That's just the hype and the emotion of everything that went on. So but no, it's good. I'm starting to come around to myself now a bit and starting to become more aware of things.
Well, tell us about the emotion, will you? Because obviously it's been quite the roller coaster to get to this point. And you talked about it afterwards in the press conference afterwards. You talked about, people have no idea what we go through, and you didn't want to single yourself out. But like, your story is your story, and so you're the only one who's actually lived it. It was a huge outpouring of emotion from you. Why so emotional in the aftermath of this fight in particular?
Look, as it says in my post fight interview, like boxing is probably one of the most unpredictable sports out there. There's so many highs and lows in boxing. There's never anything guaranteed, and obviously with the year and a half that we've had, not just in sport but just in life in general, for everybody, whether you're a sports person, work a 9 to 5 job, business owner, whatever it is, everybody's been through a really difficult year. And for me in my career, like I've had 5 fights that were supposedly meant to happen that had fallen through. And this actual fight then alone with Shane Mosley was meant to happen at the end of January, fell through, was meant to happen at the start of February, fell through. Then leading up into this fight, we weren't sure if we were only going to be able to get into the country to make this fight actually happen over into America. There was so many things, there's so many moving parts going on, and it just never felt like it was certain. It never felt as if this was actually going to happen. And finally, when I got to Vegas, everything started to just fall into place for me. Better late than never, I suppose. But once I got to Vegas that week leading into the fight, everything just started to come together, and it was realistic. You knew it was happening. It was just a few days away. And yeah, look, I think it was just a matter of everything that had happened through the last year and a half what was on the line in that fight as well. Like it was a crossroads fight for both of us, really. The winner, me now, is obviously talking about the likes of a Bobo Andrade fight, a world championship fight, and the loser is, where do you go from here? Like, what's next? How do you rebuild? Who's going to fight you? Who's going to want to fight you? What's the purpose in fighting you? So there was a lot of things. There was a lot of things that just whenever Ballybofey, County Donegal was called out, it was just dropped to my knees and just everything just took over me, to be honest.
Does the defeat part of that fork in the road come into your mind at all in the build-up to the fight?
To be honest, no. The only times that it really came into my mind was when somebody mentioned it. Like, we had fighter meetings leading into the fight. We had meetings with the TV crew, DAZN, the analysts that were going to be on the night. Just talking how training camp went, how this went, how that went. The defeat to Turiano Johnson. How have you learned from this? How have you moved on from this? So that was the only really time that it came up or that it came into my head. Which is obviously a good thing. But that was a setback in my career, and that was another thing that I kind of shrugged off my shoulders in that fight as well, because yes, I've had 2 fights since then. The caliber of opponent and the level of the fight wasn't the same caliber or at the same high level as this fight was. So this fight had a lot more meaning. There was a title on the line. It was Las Vegas. It was on a massive card. It was a big stage and a big podium to go on and to put in a performance and come away with a victory.
That period of time away from the ring over the last while, is that like, and you've gone straight home after this fight as well. We've talked to you and you've been living in various parts of the world. And I'm just wondering, like, we've all, I think, taken a little bit of time over particularly the last 6 months to go, what is it that we're doing with our lives, and are we sure we're doing the right thing, and who are the people that are around us, and who do we want to spend time with? From your perspective, in terms of your career and your life, have you got a clear idea of what the future looks like?
Yeah, look, it's I think a lot of questions were answered for everybody over the last year and a half in terms of what they want out of life, how they were living life. People have really got to pause and to look at things, because before COVID, everything was just 100 miles an hour. Like, if you weren't busy flat out doing something every single day, there was something wrong, or you were doing something wrong. Whereas now people are starting to realize that it's actually good to just pause and chill out and, enjoy life and take the things that we take for granted, nourish them things a little bit more. And for me, obviously, I've done that a lot the past few years because I've had the time being out injured and, fights not happening and been out of the gym for a while and different things that got there. I've had the time to reassess things and to put my life in order and to put what's most important for me and what makes me happy into pole position. And I have done that now, and I have really, I've really got to a place now where I have a great structure in my life. Very mature now and where I'm at, and it was just like a build of everything kind of coming together. Moving back to Ireland, training with Andy, being closer to home, being around my people that I love and that I want to be with more. And yeah, like any of my fights that I've had in the States, like I've always probably stayed a week, 2 weeks after them. But this time I was like, first flight on Sunday, get me back home again. So, I was delighted to get back home nice and early and to be back with the people that I want to celebrate with.
And so, what is the structure now into the future? Like, are you living in Dublin? Is that it? And if there's training camps, you'll go to training camps. Are you going to live in Ballybuffet and come down to Dublin for training camps? What's the plan?
Yeah, like I'm based in Dublin for training. You know, I have my place up there that I stay for training, and that's where I'm going to be based throughout my career now until you know, anything drastic happens or anything drastic changes. So that's our camp, like that's our base where we train with Andy. That's where the team is now. And yeah, I come back to Donegal pretty regularly, and but it's such a breeze now. Like it's 2.5, 3 hours up and down the road whenever you want, and your family, people, your friends, whatever, they can just come down and visit you. So my base is looking into the future now. It's going to be in Dublin with Andy and our camp up there. And if needs be, a fight's in Vegas or a fight's over in LA or in the States, we might go over there for a training camp if needs be. But now we're set up now, and the base is going to be Dublin, and whatever fights come along, we'll adjust accordingly, coming up to them.
We saw the scenes a couple of moments ago on screen in Ballybuffet when you came home, a bit of a homecoming. I'm sure you were jet lagged as hell trying to soak it all in that moment. Like in a weird way, do you feel closer to home at the moment? You mentioned there that you're making more of an effort to come home quicker after fights. Is that to do with your relationship at home, that it is getting a bit deeper?
Yeah, like without a doubt. You know, whenever I first moved to LA, I was never as glad to get away from Donegal and where I'm from, and just you know, you're young, you want to spread your wings. And, you know, I'd done that, and I went out there to LA, and first year and a half, I was like, this is unbelievable. I'm never coming home again. But after that year and a half, and after the novelty kind of wore off, I started to miss home. I started to miss the people. And, you know, my manager texted me last night, and he says to me, I just seen the video of your homecoming. Now I know why you love home so much. And, like, it was such a special moment, that homecoming, not just for me coming back like after winning, but this year and a half that we've had, every town around Ireland has been dead. Nobody has been out and about. Everybody's kind of been a sob story. Everything has kind of been nothing to celebrate, nothing to get happy about, nothing to get excited about. But for me, coming through there, I was hanging out the window of the car. I was on a buzz. I was enjoying things. I was having a good crack. Like, whereas the parade of cars that came behind me and was part of the homecoming, whenever it was all over and they were coming chatting to me, there was a lot of emotions. A lot of people were coming up to me saying, I got so emotional driving through the town to actually see elderly people, businesses, school children out on the streets with happiness, with celebration, with smiles on their faces. There were so many people came up to me saying that they got emotional driving through the town. And, you know, it's like, I'm just a fella that's getting into the ring, doing my job, doing what I have to do. And if that's going to spread this kind of joy back at home, it's a blessing. Like, it's such a success, really, you know.
And imagine if you'd stuck around in America for a week and missed that, and that hadn't happened. Like, I can see totally how this is, it's crossroads really, but it's a huge moment in some ways.
Yeah, like I've been to Vegas. I've fought there before. I've went into Vegas when I haven't fought, and, you know, I've seen Vegas. I've done Vegas, but for my fight, I never once went up the strip. I never went near any of the touristy things, the attractions. And I was only in the Mandalay Bay Hotel. And Vegas is open now. Like, Vegas is 100% free for all. COVID is a long distant memory now over there. But for me in fight week, the only time I left my hotel was, I go to a lovely Mediterranean restaurant whenever I have a fight coming up. It's very good, clean food, plenty of vegetables, nice clean chicken, everything like that. So I always find a certain Mediterranean restaurant that I'll go to once every day leading up to the fight, and it was a 5-minute drive away, and that was the only time I left the hotel, was for a bite of food every day. And like, I was just so happy. I was there on business. Like, I had business to take care of, but there was no ambition to stay an extra few days in Vegas and hit the casinos or the nightclubs or do any of that type of celebration. It was just get me back home to Donegal and get me back home to Ireland and just to see everyone. And, you know, fair play to everyone that came out and made it such a special welcome home.
Would a younger Jason Quigley have been like, all right, let's get my suit on and hit the casino?
A younger Jason Quigley is still in Vegas. I wouldn't be here chatting to you. But no, like, as I said, look, I've kind of got to that stage now in my career and in my life where, you know, I've done a lot of things like that, and, you know, I have experienced a lot, but, you know, I have blinkers on now, whereas I have a more tunnel vision of knowing what I want, a more kind of a structured vision of what I want and how to get there. And yeah, it's Vegas now doesn't really appetize me. And I just turned 30 there as well, so I didn't even get a birthday party properly yet, so I could have used that excuse as well and stayed the extra few days.
Well, happy birthday, belatedly, Jason.
Cheers.
So, like, I mean, does that make you a better fighter, or am I just connecting two dots that should never be connected here? This idea that you've got the blinkers on at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. You know, it's not going to make you a more technically better fighter or nothing, but it's going to make you a more mature, mentally focused fighter. And I think that's what has happened to me, and that's what, you know, I think that's what a lot of people seen in this fight as well. That 6th, 7th, 8th round, they seen in you, not in you just clearly, but they seen a different part of my game where I was up on my toes, I was floating about the ring, I was fresh, I was enjoying it, I was smiling at the end of rounds, you know. And I think that was that's a sense of, you know, a mental game that I have improved on, and that we've been working on in the gym with Andy as well, like of just being more present and enjoying the moment and being aware in the situations that you're in, instead of just getting in there and just going all hell for leather, just trying to win the fight and just trying to get it done and over with as quick as possible. So yeah, definitely, it's definitely going to be an improvement to my game for sure.
You'd Wayne McCullough in your corner as well. What was that like?
Like, I'm a very lucky man. You know, Andy couldn't travel to Vegas for the fight. Andy is obviously my coach. He's an ex-Olympian. He's a former world professional middleweight champion. Couldn't do my corner. But who steps in? Only Wayne McCullough, an ex-Olympian and a former world professional boxing champion, both Irish men as well. So, you know, I was very fortunate now that Wayne was there and was able to step in, and he was a great addition to the camp for fight week. He was, you know, very positive. He's been there, he's done it, he's seen it all. Like, there's nothing phases him. There's nobody's going to come in and intimidate him or anything along those lines. He's a nice, controlled, relaxed way about him, and that's vital for fighters leading into a big fight at fight week. You know, he's very calm, cool, relaxed, and obviously always very positive as well. You know, anytime we were doing sessions leading up to the fight, you know, always coming in with good positivity and a good way about him, and, you know, made the whole experience very enjoyable. And then in the corner, he was very good, you know, very calm, relaxed, easy to listen to, you know, no shouting 110 different things at a big roaring and shouting in the corner and confusing you or anything along those lines. You know, very simple, basic instructions, and, you know, very similar to the way Andy is as well.
Yeah, well, when you think about it, he trained under Eddie Futch, so you've got that lineage in your corner, and you've obviously got Andy and all the stuff from the Cronk as well. So it's like the whole weight of boxing history is in that corner for you to draw on. And the other thing is that the style, incredibly exciting, and so people are now talking about what comes next. It was a very open fight. You took, and we can see on your face still the marks of it as well, like incredibly exciting, and a majority decision, so it was close. They're the type of fights that the fans want to see. I presume you'd prefer to win a fight much cleaner and not be as marked, but you know, styles make fights, and styles make fighters get bigger purses and get bigger opportunities.
Yeah, look, this is a fight game. It's a business as well as a sport. And if the fans aren't excited, you know, and nowadays boxing, like if fans are demanding and wanting fights, or fans are excited about a fighter, that's going to get that fighter opportunities. That's going to get that fighter paid. And that's the way boxing is now. It's not just the promoter or the managers that need that interest. You know, there's a massive interest out there now on social media. If a fighter is trending, if a fighter is popular. So the fight went to plan. I thought the draw decision, or the draw, the judge that had it a draw, you know, I thought, like, yes, it was a close fight, but I didn't think it was that close. I thought I was the cleaner fighter, like the 97-93 as well. Like, that's a pretty wide scorecard.
Yeah.
You know, and then to get a 95-95, you know, whenever I heard the 95-95, I was like, he's from Vegas, he's American, his father's Shane Mosley Sr. I was like, don't do this to me, you know. But, you know, thankfully the other two judges seen, I haven't watched the fight yet, but seen what I had felt throughout the fight. And yeah, look, I felt as if I just felt as if I was the better boxer. I was, you know, landing the cleaner shots. I was doing the bursts in the right time. And, you know, I got hit a few shots, but I was catching a lot of shots and slipping away from a lot of shots as well.
Oh, totally.
And
there's an extended 12-minute highlights out there if people want to watch it who haven't already seen it, and there's already 300,000 views on it as well. So what's next? Final question for you. What is coming next, do you think, or you hope? What do you want?
No, I would love the fight with Demetrius Andrade, the WBO middleweight champ. I think that it's a very capable, realistic, doable fight, because I obviously have a belt now in the WBO rankings, which is the belt that Demetrius Andrade has, and he struggles to get fights. He's a kind of a avoided fighter. None of the big champions really want to fight him because he's a high risk, low reward type of a fighter. I think the fight would be very interesting stylistically, because he's a boxer, and, you know, he can hit, he can bang. You know, he's dropped a lot of his last opponents, but he seems to struggle to get his opponents out of there. He seems to struggle to get the job finished. Which I think that I'd be able to capitalize on by not letting him hurt me and not letting him, you know, land those big power shots on me. But being a real interesting fight for boxing fans that are into the technical side of boxing because of the two styles. And yeah, look, that would be a very interesting fight. I would obviously love to get that opportunity. As it says, he does struggle to get fights, so it's something that he doesn't get too often, as lads calling him out.
Yeah.
And yeah, without a doubt, you know, that would be a great fight to get, and it is a very doable fight.
Well, listen, congratulations. It's well deserved to get to this point, and we all know that the journey's not finished yet, Jason. Keep it going. Thanks a million.
Top stuff. Thanks for having me, lads. Chat to you soon.